we're ready to begin our next unit on solving linear equations and inequalities. This is not writing equations with lines like slope-intercept, but this is actually solving equations. And so we need to be able to solve for x. I actually skipped most of that section because I'm pretty sure you can solve for x, but I do want to do one quick reminder about how do you solve when you have several fractions in a problem. And of course, hopefully somebody is saying, well, we should multiply by the common denominator to cancel the fractions. So in this case, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to multiply by the common denominator. So common denominator here would be 4. I'm going to multiply everything times 4, which of course means the first term becomes 16. When I take the next fraction times 4, it's of course going to cancel, and I have minus 3x. The big question here is on the right-hand side. When I take it times 4, do I take the half times 4 and the quantity times 4, or just the half? Well, the answer is because this is multiplication, I do only the half times 4, because then I'm going to distribute that through the quantity anyhow, which means I'll be multiplying by 4. So I would only do a half times 4 and get 2, and then I would still distribute that later. That would, of course, leave me 16 minus 3x equals 2x minus 10. I can add my 3x over, add my 10 back, and solve normally for x. So I don't think solving for x is going to be a big issue for us. However, with the problems whenever you're solving equations comes fun and exciting word problems, and that's where you are going to have some issues. We are going to be doing problem solving, and I'm going to expect you to do a problem solving method. This is not just slap something down on the paper and see if you can come up with an answer. Word problems cause people issues. They always do. This particular book has word problems in every single section. You will see word problems and word problems and word problems. You can't avoid them. You've got to learn how to deal with them. The biggest problem I have is people don't want to go through the preliminary steps to make sure they're getting it right and understand the problem. You'll notice here I have 4 steps. You need to gather and organize the information. A lot of times I teach you to make charts. But the first thing you need to do is those first 2 steps. You need to read the entire problem through. Don't start trying to write an equation on the first read through. Then read it again. You need to highlight key information that you're reading. And most importantly, identify what it is they want you to find. 95% of the time, your variable is going to represent what they ask you to find. So if you identify what you want to find, you'll know what to set your variable up for. Of course, the other part, when I said earlier that we were going to organize, that's often organizing things in a chart. Taking time to arrange the information so you understand it. If you recall last year when we did the linear programming problems, we built the chart and then our equations just read straight out of the chart with no effort. If you take the time to start the problem, you will do so much better. Okay, and second step, make the problem visual. If a diagram will help, a picture, label it, draw it. Sometimes that's a huge help to seeing what's going on in a situation. Third, you need to develop an equation then. That's not till the third step. That's what everybody wants to do from the get-go, and then they mess it up because they haven't paid enough attention to the actual problem and the information provided. Also realize sometimes they give you extra information you're not going to use in the problem. You have to know when to ignore something as well. Finally, once you have the equation set up, the solving is usually the easy part. But once again, you need to stop and ask yourself once you get it solved, is this solution logical and reasonable? Does it logically make sense? Is the answer the right size to fit with the situation? Sometimes when you make a little error in the algebra of solving it, you get a bizarre answer. You need to stop and ask yourself, is this answer reasonable? And then of course the other thing is you need to label the answer properly with units and description, something so people understand what your answer means. I expect to see on today's worksheet that you're going to do these steps. If not, it'll be coming back to you to redo. This is an assignment that there is no option. You have to do it. There's no homework coupon on this assignment. We're going to fight our way through these until we get good at them. So, there's primarily two kinds of problems. I actually have a few others on there that I'm going to leave you to approach, but I am going to address two major problems that we tend to see a lot. If you take physics, you're going to see this. I see these types of problems show up in calculus. We deal with all kinds of motion problems, dealing with things in motion. Physics deals with things in motion. These are actually the types of motion problems you learn to solve in Algebra 1. This is not advanced algebra, but this is challenging. Okay, so we're going to read through the problem. A truck leaves a turnpike terminal traveling at 60 miles per hour. 15 minutes later, a car leaves the terminal traveling at 72 miles per hour. How long will it take the car to catch the truck? Okay, first thing you need to ask yourself, it said go through highlight information. We had the truck was traveling at 60 miles per hour. 15 minutes later, the car leaves the terminal. It's going at 72 miles per hour. How long will it take the car to catch the truck? That's not supposed to be the care. That's a typo. I have to fix that one. So the key thing there is to note, what do you have? 72 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour. Those are measurements of what? Well, hopefully you're saying those are measurements of rate. So yes, we know the rate at which it's moving. So we have rates. 15 minutes is a time. And of course, with those two always goes the third factor, the distance they travel. Now hopefully someone in the deep art class has embedded in you the key formula for working with rate times and distance. And if you don't know this, then stop and logically think about it. Is it rate times time equals distance? Is it distance times time equals rate? What's logical here? And if you're going 60 miles per hour for 4 hours, you're going to, and I say, how far did you go? You're going to say 60 miles per hour times 4 hours. You're going to multiply it and get the distance. So it's always rate times time equals distance. Now, some problems vary. Sometimes we need to rearrange this equation. Sometimes we need it to be time is distance divided by rate, or rate is distance divided by time. You can rearrange that formula for whatever suits you. Okay, so now going back to read this problem one more time. Truck leaves a turnpike traveling at 60 miles an hour. So that's a rate for the truck. 15 minutes later, the car leaves the terminal traveling at 72 miles an hour. There's another rate and some information about the time. How long will it take the car to catch the truck? Okay, the question is how long? And you're going, but there's no distance in this problem. But you have to stop and think about it. What's going to be true when the car catches the truck? And maybe a picture would help. If this is the terminal and the car is back here, the truck's already left. Okay, what will be true when the car catches up? Will their travel time be the same? Nope. Will their rates be the same? No, because the car couldn't catch the truck if it was going the same rate. But understood and not really truly there is when the car catches up, wherever that happens to be, their distances will have been the same. So we know in this problem that we are going to have equal distances. So since I'm going to need to deal with the distances, it makes sense that rate times time equals distance would probably be my proper formula. Now, I am going to push heartily that you need to draw a chart of this. So